Okay, I'm talking to Chris Day, who's one of my best pals, and I've talked to him all along about the shit that goes on at ATU and the kind of tyrannical leadership that sometimes becomes apparent. And I've been debating, and everybody knows that I've been debating this, and I've responded to Tom Hortons, and I wasn't able to see any benefit in splitting off. But we're talking to Chris Day here now, and I'd have to say that when it comes to union affairs, especially to ATU 757 affairs for TriMet employees, he's probably the most educated because he's done tremendous research on this topic, even more than the actual officers. Okay, so I want to hear from you, Chris. What is your opinion about this, and why do you think these things? So go ahead.
Well, first off, I want to start by saying what the TriMet members are asking here is not. People want to just say it's divide, that the TriMet members want to separate from 757, and that's going to cause harm. And that's not what TriMet members are wanting to do. TriMet members are wanting to start a second Oregon local in conjunction with 757. So instead of just one ATU local and that's handling all of Oregon and part of Washington, there would then be two that can work together to make sure that one, all of us are taken care of, and two, we have room to grow. Because as it stands, we have several first student properties that are not unionized, that we're not able to utilize because right now we are so spread thin that adding more contracts would be too burdensome on what we currently have. And right now, ATU 757 is dealing with about 25 contracts. And that's a lot of contracts to be dealing with just one local.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look at Washington, for example, Washington has a total of 8 locals within all of Washington, and it's not handling all of Washington because ATU 757 even handles parts of Washington.
Uh-huh.
And though Washington population-wise is a little larger than Oregon, still, Oregon is just still sitting with one local. So looking at those facts, and then people are saying, well, this divide will hurt the membership because they won't have the numbers to work on. We'll still have each other. But as it stands right now, how are all these other properties helping each other out? For example, if you had TriMet Lift Region 3 for any reason go on strike, now that is First Transit. If they go on strike, they're right there at Powell Garage. And if they're out there picketing, are we going to be able to cross the picket line and operate because we're not allowed to strike? So how are we able to support a strike by Lyft when it's taking place at our property? Yet we're doing one thing that unions vow not to do is cross a picket line because we're not allowed to strike.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we be supportive to Lyft?
Mm-hmm.
How we can be supportive to these individuals that are able to strike, that are part of our union, is we can help them form contracts and stuff, and we can stay numbers with them, but we can help with the document and the research and getting better contracts.
Mm-hmm. You don't see any advantage to the local we have now and all of the properties together. You see no advantage.
I see plenty of disadvantages. Right now, with the number of properties that is being handled by this one local, it requires a lot of commuting to get to Walmart, to get to Tillamook, to get to Corvallis. I mean, our officers are spread thin. By being spread so thin, we don't know what's truly going on inside our local.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's to the advantage of the officers because they don't have to worry about accountability because they're so spread thin. They can see it there at one location, and all we have is their word to take.
Mm-hmm.
What
about the pension fund? What happens to that?
The Triman pension is a contractual issue. It's not a union issue. It's a contract. Retirees, most of the retirees are Triman. Triman retirees will stick with whoever's representing that contract.
Well, the pension fund has members from TriMet and members from ATU 757. They administer the pension. Now, if you split off, what happens to that? Because I take all the agreements are moot at that point if there's a split off union.
The agreements are removed. They're amended to change from ATU 757 to the new local.
But the new local will be starting from scratch, basically.
Correct.
Right. And do you think that's a good idea?
It's going to be a difficult step. I think it's a good idea. At first, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be difficult. It's going to take organization to make it work. But in the long run, it would give Oregon 2 locals, and we're supposed to be working in solidarity. So if there is a second local, there's ATU 757 and ATU new. Those two still should be working hand in hand to make sure everyone's needs are being met. I mean, our goal is to make sure our membership stays strong.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
well, I don't know. It just seems to me at this point in history, with Republicans taking over the federal government and the anti-union sentiment so high, I mean, you look around the country, unions are just disappearing at an unprecedented rate. And right now, to split up this union, on the face of it, seems to me to be dangerous. Just on the face of it, just the idea of it in the middle of all of this anti-union sentiment.
Change is scary. I mean, you're going into new territory. Oregon has always had one ATU, and so this is a total new concept, and so it is scary. And there are challenges that are going to need to be met. There's going to be a lot of learning that takes place. Mm-hmm. And that's where we need to stick together in solidarity.
Right. Well, what about the point that our union leadership was democratically elected, and not one time, but twice? There was 2 elections, and they were elected. What about that?
What do you mean?
I mean, the leadership that's in place now were democratically elected leaders. Now, I know there's a lot of people that don't like the leaders, okay, and we understand that. But they were democratically elected, and they were democratically elected twice. Should those of us, or those of whoever, I didn't vote for them, but the ones that did vote for them, should their votes just count for nothing? Because what you're saying here is that now that we've had 2 elections, you basically want another election. You want a 3rd election because you couldn't get what you wanted in the 2nd election. What about the people that voted? What about the people that voted the TriMet employees and retirees that voted for John and Shirley?
Okay. Well, I hear what you're saying. Now, I can also flip it around and say, what about those who didn't vote? I mean, more than likely, my strong feeling is those that didn't vote have lost faith in our union. And if I recall correctly, the vote turnout on this last election was easily less than 50%. I think it's closer to like 46, 47%, if I recall, that actually voted. And that's what voted the leadership in. So less than half of our membership voted on this leadership. And this is the entire ATU 757 membership. So it's not known if more of the outside properties voted and less of TriMet voted, or what the actual breakdown of the numbers were. Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying on that?
Yeah. Well, what about now I know is it Yvette that's behind this? She's the primary mover? Is she the primary mover?
As far as I'm aware, she is the main motivator that started this action and seeks support of others. And when I heard of it, I became supportive of it. Correct.
Okay, now now if that would that not let me I was a witness to the kind of Yvette I know really was mistreated by the union. I know that what she went through with all of the union and what happened to her. I'm aware of her situation, but would you not say that some of this is sour grapes?
I'm not sure how to answer that. I'm not Yvette. I haven't been that close to Yvette, so I can't say how she's approaching this and stuff. I got the sense that she is wanting the best for the membership. But
Well, I know what happened to Yvette. I happen to know what happened to her and the kind of abuse she got, and I understand why she would be against the union. But my opinion it might be, well, is she not propelled by sour grapes more than our for my good or your good? Would this be like payback? Is that potentially true?
I don't think so. I mean, similar could be said about me. I mean, I've butted heads with John Hunt multiple times, and many ATU 757 officers, people who say I'm doing this just to get at them. That's not true. My actions, I've been sitting there trying to defend and give the membership a voice, and I feel the majority of the leadership that I've dealt with isn't pushing to give membership a voice. It's just pushing for the membership to follow whatever they decide.
Yeah. Okay. And we've discussed this ourselves personally, and I know that you've also suffered. I just keep thinking, well, maybe someday there might actually be solidarity here, because I've never seen any solidarity in the 20 years I've been involved. There's always been these two factions, and they keep fighting and fighting and fighting. And the more you push on the current leadership, the more they circle the wagon, so to speak, and become more iron-fisted. I guess that's kind of how institutions work. They start using the rules to shut people up when they can't get solidarity. Do you think there's any chance at all for this union membership to come together in the current state of affairs?
In the current state of affairs, it would be difficult. There's always a chance. I mean, all it takes is opening the lines of communication. When you have individuals say, well, no, I'm elected for this position, you just need to follow whatever I say because I'm elected in it. If you don't like it, wait 3 years and vote me out. We deserve a voice more than once every 3 years. We should have a voice throughout the entire term. And when there's a disagreement, rather than attacking each other, there needs to be a point where they stop and say, hey, we are a team, we are solidarity. Let's actually sit together and hear each other out. But we've never had that opportunity. I don't recall any opportunity where the opposing forces actually stepped together and bargained in good faith within our own union to find a resolve that doesn't harm solidarity. It's always one side or the other. Where is the bargaining in good faith within our own union?
I see. Okay, well, those are very interesting points. Do you have anything else you want to say? I wanted to get your opinion because I happen to have a lot of respect for your opinion on these things, and I've been posting things, and I needed a post with your opinion here, and this is why I called.
Well, the main point here is thinking of the original concept of unions, why unions were formed. They're formed to protect each other and, in the strength of numbers, be able to work with the employer and gain a livable wage, benefits, and all of that. When we have this divide in our union, and it has to be one way or another, we're always going to have a divide. We got to start bargaining with each other in good faith.
So if there was a split off union, who's going to lead this union, the new union?
It would go to election.
Okay.
What what's going on right now is a petition's going around asking for International to come get involved to help us form two committees, one for ATU 757 and one for the new potential union, and allow them the ability to create the appropriate bylaws, create the structure of how things are going to work out with a full workout plan, a budget, so members could have all this detail to finally vote on. Basically, all we're asking is International to allow us the opportunity to have these two committees create how it could work and ask and give the membership the true information so they can make an educated vote on how they would like to see our union proceed.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks, Chris. I appreciate your time to talk to me about this.